Welcome everyone to today's webinar. We're excited to have Michael Levin from NBC Learn joining us today, and he's going to be talking about some online safety resources that NBC has compiled and is sharing with everyone, not just educators, but parents and all stakeholders. So he will be talking about those in just a moment. But first, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping, and hopefully everyone can hear me. I see that I am, it's saying that I'm talking, so hopefully y'all can hear me. I have, again, we'll start with some housekeeping. I have set everyone to mute as they enter the call, so please leave yourself muted. That will reduce any background noise as we go. Also, if you've not already done so, you will need to open the chat window so that you can share any thoughts or questions or read other people's thoughts and questions as we go through the webinar. You can do that by mousing over the green bar at the top of the screen and then click on chat. And I will be turning presenter rights over to Michael in just a few minutes, and when I do that, you will have to do that same process again to open your chat window. That will go away. Also, as you are entering comments into the chat box, please select everyone next to send to so that the whole group can see your message. By default, it says to just send to me, and I love to read your comments, but I know that the whole group would like to too. And as we go through, please put questions in there, and Michael will either answer those as he goes, or we should have a few minutes at the end where he can catch up on any questions that you might have. Also, your fellow educators on the call might have answers to questions that you have. So they are wonderful. You guys are a wonderful resource for each other also. Next, this is our last webinar of November. We've been sharing our thankfulness for our wonderful partners that we have in this process, this project, this ongoing supporting of schools that we are doing. In December, we are giving you all some gifts to take with you back to your schools and even to your home on Tuesday, December 3rd, so a week from today at the same time. For Eastern, our webinar will be Cool Tools for a Creative Yule. We have 10 educators who are going to be sharing 10 different creativity tools that you can use at school, and you might even find uses for those at your home, also especially with the holiday season coming up. And then the following week, December 10th, Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, our webinar will be Great Reads Make Great Gifts. So if you are looking for some reading material, some educational reading material for yourself, or maybe for an educator on your Christmas or holiday shopping list, you might find some great ideas in this webinar. And all of that information can be found on our website, and this is what our website looks like right now. We update it as we go, so like I said, this is our theme for this month. And you can get to our website either by clicking on the parents and students, administrators, or educator links at the top. We are in all of those sections. You can also find us by searching for e-learning, and we will include our URL in the chat box also. 21st Century Learning Lab is where all of my information, all of these webinars can be found. Professional development is another fabulous resource on this page too, where we have all of our resources that we are sharing with you all. One wonderful way to stay connected is through our weekly Twitter chats. Those are on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. We will not be having a webinar or a Twitter chat this week. This week is devoted to chatting in person to your family. So no Twitter chat this week. Next week will be a joint chat with the Kentucky Ed Chat community, so please join us for that. Michelle, who is on this call today, she is a member of my team. Also, she is our social media queen, and you can connect with her and all sorts of other educators by using the INE Learn hashtag or by connecting with us at the INE Learn user on Twitter. The Speak Up survey is live now. If you do not know about that, please visit the site. And there's also a link from our homepage this is a wonderful way to give useful information that is going to direct decisions made at the state and national level. Also, school districts that participate will get their data back so they can use it to make some local decisions. So again, you can link to that from our homepage, and I'll include this information in the chat box in just a little bit. And now on to the main event. Our presenter today is Michael Levin. He is the Director of Technology and Client Operations at NBC Learn. You all, some of you may have been on a call in the past with Michael. He's done several webinars for us in the past on NBC Learn, which we are so excited to be able to provide to every educator, student, parent in the state of Indiana through a partnership that we have with them. Today, Michael is going to be talking a little bit about NBC Learn. They've got some online safety resources in there, but he's also going to be talking about some other things available through the NBC site, and particularly through the More You Know endeavor that they have. So I am going to turn things over to Michael, and again, after I make him the presenter, you will need to go back up to that green bar and open your chat box again, and please offer him questions and comments as we go, and we will make sure all of those get answered before the end of our hour. So Michael, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
I will be sharing my screen here. Okay. And okay. Let's share one more thing. Okay. Alrighty. I think we are good to go. All right. Again, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Levin, Director of Technology and Client Services at NBC Learn. I'm speaking to you from the offices here in Rockefeller Plaza, New York City, which is the headquarters for NBC News and NBC Learn. And really just want to first say thanks to Mary and the great team at the Indiana Department of Education Office of e-Learning, who have created this opportunity for us to share these online safety resources with you. I've been with NBC for about almost 13 years, having spent most of my time working for this education division called NBC Learn, which I'll talk about in just a second. Previous to that, spent about half my time working on the NBC Olympics broadcast, helping broadcast the Olympic Games into homes all over the country. And then prior to that, I actually have some experience working in a corporate career as a global security leader, IT security leader for a General Electric company. So online safety, information security is very near and dear to my heart. And particularly when it comes down to talking about your kids and your students. So I'm really excited to speak with you today about the resources that will hopefully aid you in some of your teaching and communications with parents and students as well. And I've been sort of monitoring the chat here. I have the chat window up, so please feel free to ask questions as we go through the presentation, and I'll try to answer them as we go. This webinar is going to seek to provide you with basically three things. First is an overview of a brand new eBook that launched just a few months ago called Growing Up Online, which I will take you through sort of the Cliff Notes or primer version of this particular eBook to talk about some of the resources and topics that are addressed in the eBook, and that will be a main focal point of today's presentation. The second part of today's presentation will be to highlight many of the instructional resources around digital citizenship that are available on NBC Learn. And then finally, to provide you a toolkit of resources that you can go back to your school corporations or individual schools to promote online safety so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So we've created some great tools around today's presentation and other topic areas that you can take advantage of. So we'll highlight those as well. We're very, very excited about the online world and the incredible opportunities that it can provide. And here at NBC, beyond just the group that I deal with, we're also excited about all the various ways that we're allowing students, kids to plug into the various entertainment, sports and news information that we provide on the web and on apps and through social media. But of course, with all of this technology and massive content comes a great concern amongst teachers and parents, and so with good reason, we felt it was really important to put together some resources really targeted at teachers and at parents for kids to help understand the importance of safe and responsible online behavior. And as teachers, as parents, we need to help them understand that. We need to know what our kids are doing online, as well as provide the necessary controls, as well as influence on their experiences now in order to avoid issues or problems down the road. And so that's really what led NBC News and the More You Know organization to create an eBook on digital literacy and internet safety. And our hope is that the more you know about going online, the safer your kids and students will be. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And let's go on to the next slide. For those of you not familiar, the More You Know campaign is one of NBC Universal's, our parent company. It's our long-standing public service campaign, which has been in existence since 1989, focused on a variety of initiatives, everything from education to diversity, health, online safety, and the environment. And really, this organization, this public service, has brought some of the nation's most important issues to the forefront. And in many of these sort of PSAs act to help improve the lives of others and inspire action. And you've probably seen, if you watch the NBC network or any of our sister stations, you've probably seen some of the celebrity role models, whether it was Bill Cosby back in the day or Al Roker or Matt Lauer, who've talked about some of these important topic areas on air or across our platforms, really helping provide viewers easy-to-access information about social issues and moving our viewers to beyond just the state of awareness, but to actually inspiring them to act. And so that's what the More You Know group seeks to do, and they have these campaigns running across all of our broadcast and online platforms, both here at NBC Universal, as well as our parent company, which is Comcast. And so this particular new learning series called Growing Up Online is the ebook that we'll be talking a lot about today. And we put this book together with a number of nonprofit and government agencies to really ensure that the information that we're providing is credible, it's useful, and timely as well. Before we get into the ebook, I just wanted to take just a few moments just to also let you know about NBC Learn, just in case that we have some folks here that have not been privy to some of the earlier webinars or communications about NBC Learn. NBC Learn is the educational division of NBC News, which has been in existence since 2007, which seeks to provide educators with resources that come from the NBC News archives, which date back to the 1920s and 30s. NBC News is one of the longest-running U.S. broadcasters, and so that archive, which contains millions and millions of hours of primary source footage, has been collected, aggregated, aligned to standards, and made available to Indiana educators. And we'll talk about how you can get access to those materials if you've not heard about it previously. The resource itself it contains about 15,000 short 1 to 5 minute videos covering a range of topics in science and math and social studies, language arts and business, health and wellness. A little bit later today, we're going to look at specifically some of the digital citizenship resources that we have available to you as well. These resources are searchable by topic, by grade level, as well as Indiana State and Common Core standards. And this database, we have a number of resources, previous webinars. If you haven't been able to attend them in the past, we've recorded them, and we'll be able to point you to those during today's presentation as well. But it's a fantastic resource. It's available to all teachers, students, and parents. It's available at school, at home. We do offer free training, and we have a special website set up for all Indiana educators to be able to access our resources at indiana.nbclearn.com. Okay, so that's my little NBC Learn plug. Getting back to the real focus of today's presentation, which is around online safety. I've thrown some stats up on the slide here. Some of these stats you may or may not be familiar with, but I thought it was a good way to sort of kick off the conversation to really highlight the immediacy around online safety. Our children are growing up in a digital world with technology right at their fingertips, digital natives as they're called. In fact, one of the stats not on this page is that, and you may have heard of this before, that half of all kids under the age of 8 have used internet-connected devices. That's half of all kids under the age of 8 have used internet-connected devices. And as you can see, some of the other alarming stats on this page, 1 in 3 children have experienced cyberbullying, 50% of all teens have been bullied, teased at least once. And with the increased pressures regarding internet safety, privacy and behavior, getting kids aware of how to use technology responsibly is really critical. And as a media and entertainment company, NBC is committed to educating parents, teachers, and children on how to navigate the digital world in a safe manner. I mentioned some of these statistics because cyberbullying in particular is one of the things that's driving the high rate of bullying, and that's really due to the prevalence of technology in students' lives. And so I mention this just because, as many of us are aware, cyberbullying is on the rise because it can be done in an anonymous way, and kids are insulated by the fact that they don't have to walk up to someone to call them a name or say something mean. They can do that through Facebook, through cell phone messages, and other social media as well. So we're going to talk about that during today's presentation. Let me move on to the next slide, which is really one of the core reasons or the core materials that we'd like to make available to you is this resource called Growing Up Online, which is the interactive ebook that we created around digital literacy and internet safety. It's the first sort of release from the More You Know learning series, and it's done in collaboration with NBC News, as well as expert guidance from, again, other nonprofit and government agencies. The NetSmarts workshop, as well as Common Sense Media. NetSmarts workshop is actually an education program that's part of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So they've really guided us in a lot of the information that we're making available to you as well. And what this tool basically is a tool to initiate conversations with children about online safety. It's a 2-part book with extremely easy to use, easy to access information about navigating the digital world in a unique and engaging way. The first part of the ebook, which I'll go into in a few minutes, has terrific safety tips and information to ground parents and teachers on some very basic elements of the online world. discussion questions, takeaways, and then part 2, which is the real centerpiece of the entire ebook, are entertaining video comic series for kids, and I think they represent some terrific real-life situations when kids go online, and so that is part of what you'll have access to through this ebook. Jumping to the next slide, the ebook itself is free. It is available through Apple's iBook store for iPad and iPad mini, through Barnes & Noble's Nook store, the tablet, Amazon's Kindle Fire, and several others listed here on the page. It is available both in English as well as in Spanish. And for those of you who don't have access to any of these mobile device, tablets, etc., the entire ebook is available on a desktop or a laptop by viewing it at the URL provided here on the page. Let's jump on to the next slide, where, again, really the idea for the next section of this webinar is to give you folks an understanding of how the book is organized, some of the highlights and takeaways for this particular ebook, and give you a sense of what the types of materials that are available before you go off and downloading it. The first part of it is a parent primer. It's a way to help you understand more about the online world so you can better guide your child through it. One of my sort of throw out a little webinar quiz there for those in the chat. I put a little question there of what is phishing. Hopefully it's a familiar concept to many of you. If you have a thought or idea or understanding, go ahead and put that into the chat window so we could share that with some of the others on the webinar who aren't aware of what phishing is, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So part 1 of the ebook actually includes a glossary of really important technology terms that are important to be aware of, things like cookies, apps, phishing, spam, a number of really important terms to be aware of when you're navigating this world. And then the second part of the ebook is the series of interactive video comic books to be able to be used at school or at home with teachable moments, which are questions that you can ask while the comic books are sort of playing or in process. Those are sort of the discussion starters that you can use with your kids and students. And then finally, as a behind-the-scenes look at what some of the NBC stars they have to say about digital literacy and internet safety. Okay, so some of the information that's going to get covered in this ebook are the basics. And for those of you who are or for some of the parents that you work with that again are trying to better understand in this world of online safety, one of the most basic things that the ebook will deal with is you got to dive in. You got to get involved and be using the devices and the technology that your students are and your kids are using. So that means everything from powering up your smartphone or your tablet, learning how to text message if you haven't done that before, sending a photo to someone else, setting up a Facebook page, creating a Twitter account, uploading a video to YouTube. And if you're not sure how, well, you know who to ask, and that's either your kids or your students, because they're certainly going to be the experts as digital natives. And so that's a really important thing to mention. You see here, again, the sort of the glossary of terms here is really one of the first sections of the ebook to get you familiar with some of the variety of terms. In phishing, I see some comments here, is really about, phishing is trying to find private information about a user. So if you've ever gotten an email that looked like it was from your bank or looked like it was from your Facebook, it's a way, it's like a trick to get you to provide or take a call to action to provide sensitive information. That could be your banking password, it could be any personal information, your contact list. And so a lot of folks out there, who are phishing, they'll send you an email that looks like it's from someone when it's really not. And so that's one of the most popular ways of stealing people's personal information, identity theft. A lot of that happens from phishing. So anyhow, But then really the next step with your kids is to open up that dialogue. Talk to your kids about, where they're going online. Visit the sites that they're going on, both, with them and without them. Encourage them to come to you if they've seen something that confuses them or makes them uncomfortable. Create that environment that really allows your kids to feel safe discussing anything with you, and do that by listening and let them know that you're not, judging them, that you just want to help, because in many cases, if students or kids get themselves into an uncomfortable situation, or a bad situation, sometimes it's not intentional, sometimes it's accidental, and we'll talk about some of those examples here in just a few minutes. That being said, kids are kids, and sometimes as parents and teachers, we have to employ that sixth sense, which is, looking for that unusual or suspicious behavior. The student who's, or kid who's covering up their screen or lowers their laptop as you're sort of coming around the corner. And so, in those examples, you need to put some more proactive controls in place, and we'll talk about those in just a second. Unlike when I was growing up, where when I needed to find out some information about something, I went to our Encyclopedia Britannica and looked it up, or as computers came online, maybe I was using things like Microsoft Encarta. But now today's kids view the internet as really the #1 source of information to find what they're looking for. They'll use search engines. They'll ask their teachers for recommendations or for friends, using sites like Google and Bing and Yahoo search, which have made it really easy for kids to navigate the internet. And again, this does create the opportunity for kids to stumble upon inappropriate content. So that could be a misspelled internet address. That could be a word search they were typing up, and led them to a link to another website and down an unsafe path. In fact, the eBook, one of the stats in the eBook says that that 7 out of 10 kids have accidentally come across pornography sites online, or it could lead your kids to online predators. So there's a lot of things that can happen unintentionally when students are online. So it's important to sort of play that role model and educate kids and students on the appropriate way to search online. You'll also need to check out the apps that your kids are downloading as well. Most of the app stores like Apple iTunes have age ratings, and we do have some resources in the eBook that will actually guide you to some ratings, app rating websites, which will tell you some of the apps and websites that are appropriate for students and for kids. One of my little tech tips also mentioned the eBook is a free app for the Android called KitePhone, which is an app that will basically turn any Android smartphone into a kid's phone, where parents can control the contacts that kids have access to, what apps they have the ability to use, and even for how long. They can set durations for how long the kids can be using those apps as well. So that's a neat little tip. And then the last sort of section on this particular page is around tracking techniques, because one of the things that parents need to do and teachers need to do is to employ those proactive controls and use things like the internet browser history to sort of see exactly where kids have been and what's been downloaded, and so there are a lot of great tools in all of the major browsers, whether it's Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Firefox, that allow you to see that browser history. But as adults or parents, if you happen to be sharing the same devices or computers as your kids, there are ways to be able to view information privately. So it's something called private browsing, and that's a feature that's discussed in the eBook. There are video tutorials on how to activate those sorts of features. But again, students are sophisticated and learn quickly, so they're going to be able to get around a lot of those things, and they're going to delete their browser history. But then there's also things like cookies. Cookies, not the thing that we like to eat, but cookies, which are files that are saved to a computer. So if you've ever been to Facebook or to a particular website, a bank website, and you'll see that it recognizes your name, even though you still have to put in your password. Those are cookies that are basically tracking information about you, so it knows who you are when you return. And so, although kids may be smart enough to delete browser history, cookies are completely separate. And if they're not deleting those as well, that could also lead parents to understand some additional information about where those kids have been on the internet. So again, these are topics that are dealt with in the ebook in terms of video tutorials on how to activate these sorts of features. Okay, moving on. Another point around the ebook deals with filtering and parent controls. We just talked about tracking, but there are other types of controls that are in place. YouTube, if you're familiar with, has a safety mode to be able to screen out potentially objectionable content that you may not prefer kids to be able to see. Many of the newer operating systems, both Apple and Windows, also have parental controls, as well as your internet providers, whether it's Comcast or Time Warner or whomever, also have applications and programs that enable parents to filter what kids are seeing. So those are some important things to know about. The ebook deals with a lot of those and guides you to tutorials on how to activate those features as well. But again, as I said before, as kids become more sophisticated, they figure out ways around these controls. So again, remember that nothing's foolproof, and the most important thing is to make sure you're having a conversation with kids. Make sure that your relationship is strong, and that's really going to be the best way to keep them safe online and having those conversations. The ebook also has some advice on where to go for help. I saw a question earlier about particular incidents that have occurred with students, but the ebook does have some ideas and strategies for where to go if you think your kids are in danger, whether that's contacting local law enforcement agencies, but we also have a number of helpful resources like the Cyber Crime Center, the Internet Crimes Complaint Center, Cyber Tip Line. All those are listed in the ebook as well. Okay, and then digital citizenship. I saw a lot of folks talking about that in the chat window in terms of some of your recent experiences. And again, our kids are digital natives. They've never known a world without the internet, but that doesn't mean that they know how to behave online. And that, again, is our role as parents and teachers to be able to teach kids those good online values, meaning, whatever values we're teaching them as kids, whether that's honesty, kindness, respect, fairness, following the rules, those also need to extend to their digital lives. And so just as they behave appropriately in class, or on the sports field, at home, they need to be accountable for those online behaviors. And we're going to be sharing some great resources from NBC Learn that talk about some of the repercussions of not behaving properly, and then some of the positives and some of the role modeling that resources that you can look at as well. Everloop is one of several sites mentioned in the ebook or resources that will take you to places on how to find safe sites for kids of all ages. Everloop is a social network just like Facebook, but has a number of built-in safeguards for younger kids. And you'll find a lot of information in the ebook as well. But at the end of the day, your parents, teachers are going to be kids' greatest role model, and so the behaviors that you emulate at home or in the class are really going to have probably the biggest impact on kids in terms of them being safe online. And that means that as parents or teachers, that to do things like putting your phone away during meal times. or around family time, establishing time limits for using the internet, getting involved in other activities, whether that's playing sports, so going to the playground, visiting a museum, etc. And the ebook does have some great resources around that, including 7 simple rules that you can use with kids around how to behave appropriately in an online setting. Those rules are in the ebook. One rule, for example, is, whatever you post or write online can be easily spread and seen by others. It's hard to get rid of. I always, like to think of whatever email I send or thing I put on Facebook, I have to be comfortable with that being on the homepage of, NewYorkTimes.com or something like that. So I use that's the sort of rule that I go by, and that's really something that, I think will be helpful. So 7 simple rules to share with kids so you have that trust and common understanding up front in the conversation. Okay. And then moving to sort of the next part of the ebook, and this is the part that I just can't do justice in a webinar. You'll have to get on and download the ebook to explain, is really the centerpiece of the ebook, which is really these interactive video comic book stories that take real-world scenarios in school and at home and bring them to life. I'll quickly give you an overview of what those are, but I would definitely, get onto the ebook and spend a few moments looking at them. And as a reminder, each of these video comic book series, the 4 of them, all have teachable moments that pop up during the video, as well as questions that you can use with your kids while the comic is playing. Pause it at a specific time to have a conversation on this particular topic. So the first comic book series deals with a young girl who was on Facebook, and her younger brother snuck onto her Facebook page, a common occurrence, I'm sure, in many households, and in this case, posted sensitive information, specifically her phone number, and then ultimately it led to a series of prank calls and putting that personal information online, which, of course, once it's out there, you can't take it back. So there's some great conversations that can be had about what is private information and why should it stay private, and what are the risks of that information being spread online, and what can you do to stop it from happening. So that's one of the first comic book series. The second one is another sort of as a classroom example called Pin the Tail on the Teacher's Pet, which is a video comic that deals with cyberbullying. In this particular comic book series, we hear or see where a student in a class laughs at another student because he got the answer wrong, and that led to a retaliation of the student, in this case Jeff, creating a mean cartoon about a picture of Rachel, and then texting that out to everybody at school. She comes in the next day to find out everyone's sort of ridiculing her and making fun of her, leaves in tears. And so another good example there to share as well, along with the teachable moments as well, to talk about cyberbullying and how does it feel to be bullied, and what should you do when someone gets you upset before you take that next step of doing something that you might ultimately regret. So that's the second one. The third one is called Too Cool for School, which is a comic series around 2 young girls preparing for a school talent show, and they have unfortunately taken or modeled their talent school act on a online music video which has inappropriate language, and so when the teacher finds out or sees them rehearsing for this, he ends up calling the parents. The parents have a serious conversation with the 2 young girls about the selection that they chose, but also about the rules that had been set in place for where the students are allowed to go online and navigate and look for some of these resources, because in this particular comic book or this video, we find out that the girl actually did not. She went online outside of the home, which was not part of the established rules that the parents had set in place. So some really important topics there, teachable moments around parental controls and the importance of those. And then the final topic is around, again, another example of sharing personal information online, the risks associated with that. I actually am throwing out another trivia to the folks in the WebEx chat about what is MMORPG. This one's probably maybe a little bit tougher than the phishing one earlier, but if you know what that is, go ahead and put that into the chat window. But this particular example deals with again, a student who was playing an online game. He got a pop-up message to, while he was playing that online game to win a flat-screen TV. All he had to do was put in his email address. Next thing you know, within a day or so, his email box started filling up with spam and inappropriate emails, and he had to seek help from his dad to help resolve the problem. So some really important teachable moments there about how to tell the difference between online advertisements and online content that's actually part of the game, and what happens when you give out personal information, and what should you do if you make that mistake. So some really great information there. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, there's a really neat behind-the-scenes look at some of the other stars of NBC Universal, Matt Lauer, Al Roker, Marie Menounos, and a number of others talking about digital literacy and what it means to them. So before we move on, I'm just going to quickly look at the group here. It looks like, oh yes, okay, so yeah, MMORPG stands for Massive Multiplayer Online Role-Playing Game. So if you've heard of the World of Warcraft, that is probably the most popular online role-playing game. So good to Susan there and Bill who mentioned that. So anyhow, so that gives you a sense of sort of what's covered in the second part of the ebook, which is really the centerpiece in terms of those video comics. So I think you'll really enjoy those. The ebook also has a lot of additional resources, more than what we'd have time to share today, in terms of other resources that include websites with age-appropriate content and apps for kids, how to enable the various browser tracking features that I mentioned before, how to report cybercrimes, rules for being good digital citizens, some just really terrific resources that you'll find in the primer section of the ebook. Okay, so one of the sort of final parts of today's presentation is to give you access to some of the tools that are not available in the ebook. Again, one of the things that I hope that you'll take away from this particular webinar is some ideas around maybe how to champion your own online safety campaign in your schools, or if you already have them, these will hopefully provide some great supplemental tools. We've actually created an online toolkit that has a number of digital posters, email templates, graphics, overview guides, as well as social media posts for Facebook and Twitter that you can use to sort of champion or spearhead your own online safety campaign, incorporating a lot of the resources that we've talked about here today, as well as a digital citizenship playlist through NBC Learn, which has some really terrific resources on, again, some of the good and bad behaviors in terms of what digital citizenship. So we're going to go take a look at those before we wrap up today's webinar. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my browser, which I believe I have up. And I think we should be able to see that. Good. This is one of the ways to get to these resources. It's called indiana.nbclearn.com. It's a special page that we set up for all Indiana educators. And first, let me just mention, as I scroll down the page, there is a section here called Resources for Teachers. And in this section, you'll see a couple of the links here. Growing Up Online ebook will take you to the More You Know website to download or view the ebook. Digital Citizenship Playlist. We'll talk about that in just a second, but underneath that is the toolkit, and the toolkit is a zip file. It contains a number of files and may take a few minutes for you to download, so I wanted to just make sure it is there because you can't get to it from the ebook itself. So we put these resources up on indiana.nbclearn.com for you to be able to download. As I said, there are PDFs, there are Word documents, there are images, there are graphics, all sorts of things that you can use to help, sort of spearhead your own online safety campaign. So that, hopefully those are useful. Let me go up to the top of the page here, and I wanted to just quickly mention how to access NBC Learn, and then we'll take you to some of the digital citizenship resources, and I'll come back and answer any additional questions from the audience. The NBC Learn resource is accessible from any school in the state of Indiana. All you have to do is click on this link here where it says click here to access NBC Learn, and it will take you over to our resources. So let's go ahead and click on that link, and it will bring us to the NBC Learn webpage. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner there is a message that says, Welcome, Indiana Department of Education. Once you get to this page, it basically, and see this message, it means you're in. You don't need any additional usernames, passwords, codes, etc. to get in. So we've made it really, really easy to get to NBC Learn from school or at home. Again, it's accessible to teachers, students, and parents as well. And this is where several of the resources are available to you to support online safety. So let's go ahead. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the Indiana page and go back down to the teacher resources section. And I'm going to go ahead and click on this link called Digital Citizenship Playlist. What I did prior to this call was I went through the NBC Learn database and pulled together a set of really important resources that I thought would be useful to many of you as part of your digital citizenship and online safety campaigns. One of the nice features of NBC Learn is the ability to create and share playlists. So if you're not familiar with using NBC Learn, you'll see that in the upper right-hand corner there are some options to be able to register for your own individual account. Once you register for your own individual account, it will basically allow you the ability to create and share playlists. So if you want to create your own online safety playlist or digital citizenship playlist, you could go ahead and set up your first step is to set up your NBC Learn account, personal account, using your either district or home email address. You select the school district or school corporation that you're a part of. You go through the process, and then you'll have your own account. One of the advantages of having your own account is that if you really like someone's playlist, you can actually share and then absorb that playlist. So if anyone here has their own NBC Learn account that they've created previously or want to create after today's webinar, you can actually go and grab my digital citizenship playlist and copy it into your own NBC Learn login. Or if you don't want to do that, you can go ahead and search for your own videos on NBC Learn, create your own playlist, and then share them out with your colleagues and peers as well. So, but this is really useful. So if I wanted to then share this playlist with someone else or generate a link to this playlist, you want to embed this in a communication to parents or to your students or to your kids, you can share these playlists outside of NBC Learn and embed them into communications, PowerPoints, or wherever you'd like to link them from. So this is a really important feature of NBC Learn that I would encourage you to get familiar with if you're not already. But on this page, you're going to find I've put together about 36 various resources to do with digital citizenship. And again, these cover topics such as cyberbullying, password security, some of the newer technologies that kids are using like Snapchat, technology diets, driving and texting, hacking, scammers, email etiquette, some really terrific resources here that I would encourage you to take a look at. I would say my personal favorite on this website or on this particular page is the video in the second row that's titled Teen Uses Twitter to Compliment Peers. And this is a really cool story about a bunch of teens from a school in Iowa City who have taken to Twitter in order to tweet daily compliments to classmates and to teachers as a way to pick them up and build their sort of self-confidence. So they basically pick people at random and compliment them. One of my favorite quotes from this particular video is from the student you see in the thumbnail who says, no one should control your happiness. It is your life. It is your feelings. Don't let someone else dictate your right to be happy. So I really enjoyed this video. It's a really neat way to sort of reinforce some of the positive behaviors of how to be a good digital citizen and be a role model for others. So really, I would encourage you to take a look at this one. There's also a great video if I scroll down the page. Let me see if I can find this one. It quickly is escaping me. Called Surviving Meanness. I see. Okay, let me just show them all. I was hiding some of them. One of the videos here down where my mouse is, called Surviving Meanness in Middle School, is a really a great video about a nationwide student-to-student mentoring program called Girl Talk, which helps middle school girls learn how to deal with mean girls and bullying. And it's specifically, this program was started by a bunch of high school students, high school girls, and because middle school girls look up to high school girls, they serve as role models. This has been a really successful program, and in some particular school districts have led to increased academic achievement by many of the middle school girls after this program. So take a look at that. You'll also see some really great resources on one of my favorites is called Wikipedia as a source. We looked at when I talked earlier about giving students or giving kids reliable, trusted sites for them to be able to use for their research. Wikipedia is a site that comes up quite often in terms of its reliability. And this video looks at the sort of real-world implications of a college professor who found that all of his students were using Wikipedia used Wikipedia in a paper that they submitted around a particular fact which turned out to be incorrect. And so it ended up sort of influencing the college's policies on a go-forward basis on the ways that students can use Wikipedia as well. There's also a really good, another good video here, which is in the middle of the page called Cyber Parents Help Protect Their Children with Spyware Software. And it's a really great conversation piece on what parents are doing to protect children by installing controls, spyware types of programs to track their children's internet usage, and it features a woman from a internet safety group called Enough is Enough and a psychologist talking about the pros and cons of installing that type of spyware on children's computers. And they talk about the idea that really the most important thing is to really be upfront with kids and let them know upfront that you will be watching, that because you want to protect them, as opposed to the mistrust and thinking that you're spying, because you don't want to create that type of sort of viewpoint. So set those rules up front, and they're less likely to exhibit those bad behaviors. So lots of great videos here. I wish I could show them to you in person or talk about them all. There's just so many to go through. But I want to make sure, because we only have a few minutes remaining, that I can address any additional questions that come onto the webinar. So again, you have access to this playlist. You can embed it. You can share it. You can take whatever you'd like from it. And I hope some of these additional examples and on top of the ebook will be useful to you around online safety. So let me jump back to the PowerPoint. I'm just going to put up a final slide here before we go and take some questions. But this slide just basically has some of the websites that I just talked about, as well as my contact information. Again, www.themoreyouKnow.com is where you'll get to the ebook and download the ebook or view it online. Indiana.nbclearn.com is where you'll get to the digital citizenship playlist, as well as the toolkit to help promote online safety. And so that's, I think, hopefully will provide some really terrific resources for you. And we really appreciate your time on today's webinar. So what I want to do is I'm going to turn it back over to Mary to see if we have any questions that I may have missed through the dialogue, and I'll look at the chat window as well. But hopefully the information here was useful, and really appreciate everybody's participation.
Thank you very much, Michael. That was great stuff. And while you were talking, I downloaded the ebook to my Amazon Kindle app, so I'm anxious. I've looked over it a little bit, but I'm anxious to read that. And I had you on speakerphone, and my kids were in the other room, so I'm hoping that they got a little bit out of the information that you shared too. It's oh, my son just said yes. One question that I had, and you may have mentioned this, the playlist that you created, is that available for us to, can we search for that and find that, or is that just your personal playlist?
That playlist, it's not something you can search for, but I have made it publicly available. Again, on the Indiana.nbclearn.com website, if you click on the digital citizenship playlist, it'll take you right to it where you'll be able to view it. But again, if you wanted to absorb it into your own NBC Learn account, you will have needed to have created an account in advance, and then you'll be presented with a copy option or copy feature that will allow you to copy it from my account into your account. But it is available here. You can view it without having an NBC Learn account. It's just if you want to absorb it or bring it into your own login, that's where you'll need to have your own account.
Okay. And that is a great thing for all of you who do not have an account on NBC Learn yet. It's free, and that way you can bookmark things so that you can use them later and find them easily to use in your classroom. Are there any other, does anyone else have any questions in our last few minutes here? Michael has shared a lot of great information, and I know a few people I saw earlier when people were introducing themselves, there were a few people who were getting ready to, they were on a digital citizenship team or working on planning that for their school. So I think that you have given them a whole lot of resources to work on that curriculum or that lesson that they will be planning. And Michelle, thank you, has sent out that list through Twitter. So thank you very much for doing that, Michelle. Well, it looks like we have, I think you answered all their questions, Michael.
Great. Terrific. Well, thanks so much, Mary, and to all the Indiana educators. Thank you so much for everything you're doing to promote online safety in your school corporations and schools. It's really important. Please don't hesitate to contact me personally or through Mary if you have any questions or need any additional support or ideas. We really appreciate you taking this information back and sharing it, and that's really the best thing that we could ask at this stage. I really hope everyone has a very happy Thanksgiving holiday and great rest of the year, and really appreciate all the great work that you're doing. So thanks so much, Mary.
And thank you, Michael. Great resources, and the More You Know campaign, for anybody who's looking to be aged a little bit. I was watching some of the old The More You Know videos. Oh my gosh, they made me feel very old because I remember when they were on, when they were first recorded. Thank you to Michael. I'm going to go back and just show our contact information real quick. If anybody is looking to keep in contact with us, here is where you can find us. Again, the easiest way to find all of these resources is to go to our homepage, doe.in.gov/elearning, and you can get to all of the resources that we have for you all from there. So it is 5 o'clock. It is probably the beginning of most people's fall or, oh my goodness, Thanksgiving break, everyone who's on the call. So have a safe and happy holiday, and hopefully you'll be able to join us next week for our cool apps for a creative Yule webinar. And have a great evening. Thank you.